mandatory vaccines. Inventory shortages. Employee and worker shortages. Fat cats in the dealership. Everybody's making money. Slowdowns in leads that are coming in. Holiday seasons around the corner. Fake news. What to believe, what not to believe. Politics all around. Tesla and the disruptions that they're making in the auto world. They don't have to play by the same rules that you do. Carvana turning a profit, delivering vehicles directly to the customer, removing the dealership from the process. Buys and sells of dealerships happening by the minute, ridiculous amounts of buy sells across the country. Manufacturers not knowing exactly what to expect or what their moves are or what's coming next. And most importantly, the mental health of our employees, our associates, as well as you yourself. With all of these things happening all around you at all the time, the real question is, how in the hell are you supposed to sell cars? Like, how are you supposed to be able to stay focused on what is the most important and crucial aspect of what we do? We are a car dealership. We sell cars. That's what we do. You didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for this. I guarantee it. At no point early in your career did you say, you know what? I'm going to own a dealership so that ultimately I can figure out what to do during pandemic shutdowns. I'm going to own a dealership so ultimately I can figure out what to do when it comes to mandates, applications, different opinions, personalities. Inventory shortages, worker shortages, fat cats, lead slowdowns, fake news, politics, all of these things. I'm sure at no point in your career were you like, I'm going to work my freaking tail off every single day so I can get into this position so that I can manage all of those. My guess is you said, you know what? I'm going to work my tail off every day so I can get into this position so that I can own a dealership so I can sell cars. Lots of them. And make an impact in people's lives, make an impact in the community, make an impact on my legacy. My guess is you've had those thoughts or conversations. Not all this other stuff. So again, it raises the question, how are you supposed to sell cars? Like, just stay focused or even get anything else done when we're having to cipher through, shift and pivot constantly with all these other things. I am hearing this question asked by dealers all across the country right now. You see, as our employees, our spouses, and ourselves are dealing with the mental health side of this entire pandemic, it is sometimes can be really hard to stay focused on the task at hand, to keep our eyes forward and not to be distracted by the infinite number of things that are happening all around us. It's a very, very, very difficult position to be in. No doubt, man. No doubt. And so what I wanted to do today is I am going to give you 8 strategies, 8 things that you can apply, that you can use today so that you can stay focused on ultimately which matters most, which is the infinite game, right? Thriving through all of the seasons, not any lulls, not any flat lines, not any going backwards, but ultimately thriving through a season that seems incredibly chaotic on the outside. And so the first one that I want to share with you is, if you feel some of this, one of the very first things that you can do, maybe one of the most important, is take the time to determine what you can control. You see, it's things that are out of our control that ultimately cause the chaos. It's the things that are out of our control that can cause us to get distracted. It can be a thing like a new law. It could be something like a heat case. It could be a particular recall. These are all things that are out of our control that ultimately can distract us from the overall goal, which is to play the infinite game and build an impactful company that continues to grow and thrive year after year after year after year. So you have to take some time today, I suggest, and determine what exactly can you control. You see, it's easy to go, I can't control that. That sucks. I'm a victim to that. And we're going to shift that mentality right now. And we're going to say, no, I am not a victim. I am a victor. What can I control? Now, I'll give you a couple examples of maybe some things that you can control, right? I just gave you a bunch of examples that are things out of your control. Let me give you some examples of some things that are in your control, okay? Your used cars are in your control. I don't know if you knew this or not, but there is no inventory shortage when it comes to the used cars. There's none. You can get as many as you want. Now, people say, well, yeah, but there's money and there's turn ratios and they're all being sold over retail, book, and so on and so forth. And so to all of that, I just want to look you straight in the eye and say, so are you going to win during this season or are you not? Are you committed to being successful? Or are you simply dipping your toes in the water? The market is what the market is. Can't control that. And not ideally, that's not the word I'm looking for. And the reality is that the market's the best it's ever been. The reality is the opportunity is greater than ever. Are you kidding me? We have used cars that don't depreciate. We have used vehicles that are selling for more today than they used to. We have more opportunities to be profitable. And we no longer have to respond to or be completely reliant on and controlled by the manufacturer. Dude, it's a utopia. But Glenn, you don't understand. The prices are, they're just so high. They're just over the book. Throw the book out, man. The book is just a made-up number. It's a book they've been using since 1933. And that number is based on transactions in the past. That's what that number is based on. Your market determines the value. The customer determines the value. And that customer has no idea the things you know. They haven't been watching and looking at that book for the last 20 years like you have. They have no clue. All they know is that they have a need. And it's your obligation to fulfill that need. I'm going to ask you a quick question. Pretty simple question, actually. If gas is $1.55 a gallon, who is going to go buy gas? Now I'm going to ask you a second question. If gas is $5.55 a gallon, who is going to buy gas? Now see, the answer to those questions is the same. Who's going to buy gas? Well, everyone who needs gas. They're going to buy it at $1.55. They're going to buy it at $5.55. It doesn't matter. It's all made up. It's whatever the market determines is the value. You have consumers who need a product that you deliver. It's time for you to take control of your used cars. Some other things that you can take control of during this season, things that are in your control, your attitude. Your attitude about the whole changing environment all around you is something that you can ultimately control. The energy and excitement level that you bring to the table, the energy and excitement in your dealership, you can control those things. Your advertising, you can control that. How much money you spend on it, what you're advertising. Are we advertising new cars still? That doesn't make any sense. Think about it for just a second. Why would you advertise a new car in today's market? It makes 0 sense. Well, I have co-op funds. Okay, great. Save them. Maybe you'll need them a little bit later. Right now, you need the world to know that you're a used car factory, because that's the only way you're going to be successful over the next 15 months at least. Okay, for those of you that are watching this on a repeat, I apologize if the timing is a little bit off. But it's going to be a while. I will tell you that. It is going to be a while. Other things that you can control is your content. What type of content is going out and how much of that content is going out is something that is under your control. And you know what else is under your control? Your morning routines. How you start your day. You know, typically we see in seasons like this that one of the first things people throw out as the seas get a little turbulent is they tend to throw out the foundational routines that put them in a place to be successful. They start sleeping in a little bit longer, not doing morning routines. They start binge watching television, eating more ice cream, so on and so forth. The habits that you know that got you to where you are today need to stay. Do not allow those things to be thrown out. That is something that is under your control. Another thing that's under your control is how you show up. You can show up weak, scared, afraid, or you can show up with confidence that you will be one of the few that thrive in the upcoming season. You see, it's important that you determine what you can control versus focusing on things we can't control. That's number one. Number two, how are you going to stay focused in this season with massive distractions all around you? The second thing you need to do is you need to identify your fears. And then ultimately you need to process them. A friend of mine wrote a book called Permission to Feel, Mr. Mark Brackett. And in this book, he talks about how to unlock the power of emotions to help our kids, ourselves, and our society thrive. I interviewed Mr. Brackett, and one of the things that he shared with me is we've all been told not to feel, right? That we can just squash that down, just focus on the positive, keep moving forward. There's no space for that. And what I'm telling you right now is you have permission to feel. And you really not only have permission, but it's required that you do so in order to thrive in the upcoming season. You are going to have to ask yourself the question, what are you afraid of right now? What are you afraid might happen? Are you afraid the manufacturers are going to shut you down? Are you afraid that you're going to not be able to get this used car thing down? Are you afraid you're going to lose all your employees? Like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid you're going to get sick? Are you afraid your family's going to get sick? Are you afraid that you're going to fail? Like, what are you afraid of? You need to take some time to write those things down, the things that you're fearful of in this season. And once you identify them, once you know what you're afraid of, then what we can do is we can ask a second question. Well, what will you do if it does? What are you afraid might happen is question number one. And question number two is, well, what will you do if it does? What will you do if that thing that you're afraid of, what will you do if it happens? Now, see, the reason that we go through this process is not to focus on the negative gloom and doom, but ultimately when we identify the worst case scenario, when we identify it, and then we look at and say, okay, well, what am I going to do if that happens? When we do that, we now take it from a feeling, we take it from emotion to a factual place. Okay, it's already happened. Worst case scenario has happened. Now what am I going to do? And we can start to create a strategic plan that keeps you in the infinite game. And once we start to plan on it, then it becomes something that doesn't distract us. Instead, it becomes something that that we're intentional about, that helps us to get creative, that helps us to get better, stronger. See, this is a season where you got to get better. You got to get stronger. But you can't when we're in a state of fear and reaction. No, take the fear, fact it, remove the emotion, create a plan. Now you're proactive versus reactive. Whole different ballgame. That's number two. Number three. Number three. Concentrate on your influence. It's time for you to concentrate on your influence. See, listen, you've been through a lot in your life already. You have. If you look back, I want you to think about it for just a second. I want you to think about all the traumas that you've been through, the fears and worries and concerns that you've had before, the things that you thought were going to happen and never did, the resiliency with which you've bounced back from financial issues, relational issues, all of those things, right? You've been through a lot. And now, because you've put in the hard work and like a warrior thrived through all of those previous seasons, you are now in a very, very, very respected position. You're in a very respected position in the dealership, and people are watching you. They're watching your every move. So your words and your actions ultimately are going to determine whether you have more distractions or whether you're able to stay focused. You see, when you're dropping your shoulders, when your body language is one of victim versus victor, it creates more distractions in your dealerships. People become more fearful themselves, and then they start to have concerns and worries. And where do they go with the concerns and the worries? And their performance starts to reduce, and that goes down. And what happens when performance goes down? All of these things, right? And so we're creating a lot of the chaos. We just don't even know it. You know, I was in a room in Clubhouse the other day, and somebody said something I thought was really profound. His grandfather had told him this: whatever happens in the front of the car gets picked up in the back of the car. Whatever is said in the front of the car gets picked up in the back of the car. And what he was talking about is, as parents, whatever we talk about in the front of the car, our kids are just sitting right there in the back seats. And they're going to pick it up. They're going to absorb it, whether you want them to or not. If you're on a phone call with somebody, they're going to absorb the way you talk, the way that you interact, the way people interact with you, right? They're going to absorb that. If you're complaining about a situation or environment, if you're expressing your political views, any of those things, your children are going to pick that up. And the case is the same with all of your employees, your associates, your team members. All of them are going to pick up on all the little cues that you're putting down. And if you're putting down cues of defeat, you're going to continue to create more distractions in your life. And I need you to stay focused. So you need to concentrate on your influence. Say, okay, wait a minute. I am a very respected individual, and I am in a position of influence, and it is time for me to use that influence to be proactive, not reactive, and to take back control of some of the things I may have lost control of. Number four thing that you can do in this season to stay focused, reduce the distractions, and be able to ultimately thrive. Number 4 is for you to understand the difference between differentiate the difference between ruminating and problem solving. Okay? The difference between ruminating and problem solving. So ruminating is basically replaying yesterday's problems and dwelling on outcomes. That's what ruminating means. To dwell on yesterday's problems in a way that ultimately will not be serving or will not be helpful. Now, see, we can do this. We can say, well, we're trying to come up with a solution. We're trying to come up with a solution. That's why we're so focused on the problem. And I totally get that. But instead of focusing on the problem to try to get to a solution, what if we skip a step? And let's just focus on solutions. That's it. Let's focus on solutions. Let's just pretend that necessarily the problem isn't a problem. Maybe the problem is an opportunity. An opportunity for you to come up with a solution that's going to serve your employees, your customers, your communities, all those things that you want to serve, all those things that you are passionate about, the reason that you got into this industry. So a lot of times as we're whiteboarding, we think we're working through a problem, but in many cases, we're actually just dwelling on the problem. Erase the whiteboard and start writing down solutions. How does this solution work? How does that solution work? How can we adjust for that? Who do we have to hire? What's the pivot? What's the shift? So on and so forth. Just focus on the solution, not the problem. That's number 4. Number 5 is you need to create a stress management plan. So a stress management plan, there are multiple ways to reduce stress, right? So one of the many ways that we can reduce stress is obviously through open communication and conversations with people we trust. Super important one. Another way that we can reduce stress is through exercise. Exercising can way reduce your stress levels. We can also reduce stress through healthy eating. Eating healthy definitely can help lower those stress levels. We can reduce stress by actually taking some breaks, by resting. We can reduce stress, this is all scientifically proven, reduce stress by spending time with our friends and people that we love, our loved ones. So there's lots of ways that we can reduce stress so that ultimately we can get back in control. But here's what most people do. When the stress really kicks in, the stress, the frustration, all of those things, then what most people do is they shift over to a world of maybe it's drinking, maybe they binge watch episode after episode after episode, right? 37 hours of King of Thrones or whatever it is. I've never seen a second of it, so I couldn't tell you, right? But that's typically what we do, is we just go into kind of a default when we're stressed. And so you need a stress management plan, something that's going to integrate mind, body, and spirit, something that's consistent every day, something that's under your control. It's not influenced or controlled by anyone else. It's 100% under your control, because that's what we all need right now, is to take back control of our minds, our bodies, and our actions so that we can go to battle in the upcoming seasons. Make sense? Number 6, healthy affirmations. You have over 70,000 thoughts a day, and many of those thoughts incite fear, incite doubt. They're negative, not self-serving thoughts. And so we have to shift this. We have to retrain this in order to be able to stay focused on the goal, on the target. No matter what, we can't let our own stress levels ultimately impact the success of our dealerships moving forward. We just simply can't. It's not okay. And so how do we shift that? Well, it starts by standing in the mirror daily and throughout the day, putting that doubt and fear and frustration ultimately over to the side, and coming from a place where you can start to execute on your genius. So when it comes to affirmations, these are words that you're going to say to yourself over and over and over again. You're going to look in the mirror and you're going to say, I am amazing. You're going to say, I am a warrior. You're going to say, I am resilient. I am powerful. You're going to say these things. And you want to say these things at least 3 times a day. At least 3 times a day. So you do it first thing in the morning. When you see a mirror later in the afternoon, maybe you're in the restroom, you can say it there. But you want to continue to affirm to yourself that you are the amazing, amazing superhuman that you are. You can put sticky notes up all around your house, your cabinets, your office to remind you. Whatever words you read that inspire you, ultimately surround yourself with those. Number 7. Number 7 is don't guess. Don't just guess and try and understand what people are thinking. Don't just guess and assume that you know what's on people's mind. You see, our imagination runs wild all of the time. It runs wild, and if we don't talk to them, our imagination can plant complete different narratives than what's exactly going on, right? You've all been there. You've sent a phone number, or you've made a phone call, sent a text message, you've got no response. Now all of a sudden you're talking, you're like mentally going, he doesn't like me, she doesn't like me, he doesn't want to do business with me, she doesn't want to do business with me. And none of that might be the case. You're just simply being distracted by the doubts, the fears, the concerns, and the worries. Case might be they have a broken phone. Case might be they just didn't have time yet. Just hasn't aligned. Doesn't have to be anything more than that, right? And so if it's true for you, it's true for all of your employees as well. So if you notice somebody's a little off today, what I challenge you to do is ask. Pull them in a back room and ask them a question. Hey, how are you? What's going on? What's going on in that head of yours? Maybe they're a little bit off because they lost their grandmother. They were tight with their grandmother. Maybe they're a little off because they're feeling lonely because they're in a certain particular area where they're not able to move around the way that they want to move around, right? Your people are the best investment you'll ever make. So take some time to ask that question, because understand they too are dealing with vaccine mandates, COVID shutdowns. They're dealing with inventory shortages. They're dealing with worker shortages. They're dealing with fat cat syndrome. They're dealing with all of these things, right? It's not just you. It's every single one of them. They're dealing with politics. They're watching Tesla and Carvana. There's some apprehension and some tension. They can see and feel all of that. They can see and feel all of that. So with that said, it really comes down to a simple ask. Just simply ask the question. And number 8, in order to be able to stay focused during this distracting season, number 8 is to write down your worries. Write down your worries. Write down all the different things that you're worried and concerned about. And as you look at that list of worries and concerns, please understand that where you are is exactly where you were supposed to be. And though these things may have been around for a really long time, if they're resonating with you right now, this is an opportunity to take control. So let's run through a quick recap. These are the 8 things that you can do right here, right now, to stay focused on the target, the infinite game. Number 1, determine first and foremost what you can control. Number 2, identify your fears, fact them, don't feel them, so you can move forward. Number 3, concentrate on your influence. You're in a respected position. Make sure to know that the environment around you is curated and created by you. Number 4, differentiate between ruminating and problem solving. So ruminating is replaying yesterday's problems and dwelling on the outcomes. We don't want to do that, all right? We definitely don't want to do that. Instead, just focus on the solutions. That's it. Number 5 is to create a stress management plan for yourself. Number 6 is to develop healthy affirmations. Number 7 is don't try to guess what other people are thinking. And number 8 is to write down your worries so that you can identify them and ultimately take control. Listen, friends, I know that this is an interesting opportunity for you, and it's a little bit different. It's a little bit outside the box, and in some cases, it's a little bit uncomfortable. I totally get that. But if we allow the distractions around you to take hold, it's going to get way, 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 way worse before it gets better. You have an opportunity in front of you right now to make it better. You can control certain things. So focus on that which you can control, and let's continue to move forward. Fair enough? Fair enough. All right. Thanks for joining me. Make sure you catch the Q&A sessions, and I will see you then.